Welcome to One More Thing. I'm here with Dr. Troy Doucet to talk about this Sunday, which was a phenomenal sermon.
Thanks,
and
man.
My group afterwards really clicked with it. A lot of good conversations.
That was a big group, man.
Yeah, it was a pretty good-sized group.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the conversation centered around, of course, this concept of the, as Rourke called it, the eternal yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you go in this direction with the sermon? Is this something that you and Larry had talked about, or is it just...
Yeah, so Dr. Bauckham had approached me and asked, he said, hey, I want you to take week 3. He goes, but I want to do a different spin. Because typically the Advent season, the 4 weeks leading up to Advent, there's peace, joy, hope, love. We recycle those. And he said, I want to do something a little different. I want you to do it on possibilities. And that's all he said.
Yeah.
And Christmas possibilities. And I said, okay. And he said, can you run with that? He goes, I think there's a part of Christmas that we're missing, that there's something, Christmas opens up the horizon of what is possible.
I agree, man. I thought it was brilliant.
And it was a challenge. It was a challenge because there wasn't much, because a lot of times when we're developing things, we're looking at a text, and we go from a text and develop our thoughts from that. And so I said, Mary is the way to go. Like the sort of the interaction she has with Gabriel in that moment is opening the horizon of what is possible, not only for Mary, but through Mary for the world. And so that's kind of like how I went. And when you read that text in its Greek and many of the translations, Mary is concerned. She has some trepidation about it, but then she ultimately says that yes, which Rourke talks about in that, the universal Christ, that this is her eternal yes. And when you read that stuff, it's just beautifully put, man. And then of course I said, we need to tell a story on top of this. And that's where we had Riley's story to kind of engage and kind of correlate to that, man. So
how many people did you have come up to you and say, I want to get involved with this guy, Chase, and
there was
Ventures for All?
5 or 6 people afterwards. I mean, because our time is so limited, especially between services and getting ready for the next worship take. And so, I wish I could sit there and just talk to everyone, because there was obviously a line of people wanting to talk and have me pray with them. And, you're used to this as well, man. Like, people just want, people who are hurting, people who need hope.
Mm-hmm.
But that video really moved people to say, we're a part of this, and we could be a part of this. We can be a part of opening new possibilities for people who were told it was impossible to ride a bike. It's impossible for you to climb a rock, and Chase does those things with those individuals who have those exceptionalities. And he's called to it, man. His heart is as big as Mount Everest.
Oh, you can tell.
And but it takes a calling, it's not just a feel-good thing for him.
That's frontline stuff.
That's it. And so showing that, because there were so many points in that video that were so crucial to what I was trying to communicate in the sermon. Chase saying things like, the impossible became possible. And Riley's mom going, there was a point where I had to trust and let go and, know that everything was in place for his preparation to do the impossible. And that's the story, man. That's the story of Mary. That's the story of her knowing the complications and the complexities of saying yes to this particular request, but also seeing beyond the predicament of the current condition.
Yeah. So one of the things that I loved that you brought out in the story of Mary is the complexity of the original language there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's often translated to English in such a way that people walk away feeling like Mary is somehow in and of herself elevated above others.
Yes.
And so you pointed out some things that I think are worth revisiting. So tell us what you discovered there.
Yeah, I mean, it's highly controversial depending on your religious brand that you come from, but we know like sort of the Annunciation of Mary and the elevation of Mary to almost not quite deity, but right below, is fairly recent sort of doctrinal theology within Catholicism. You know, Pope Leo X or whatever locked himself in a room and said, "Well, I'm convinced that Mary is, you know, higher than what historically she was perceived to be." But aside from all that theological history, the text of Luke's gospel is pretty clear that, you know, she fell into favor with God, and it goes so beautifully with Riley's story. He fell on the bike,
Yes, perfect.
and has a choice to make in that moment. Look, I'm feeling pain on my body that I haven't felt before because he's never fallen, you know, in that way. Do I do this? Do I keep going? Can I see it? And what does he say? Finish. Yeah. Mary sees it. And she's like, well, this is going to cause, because she could have said no. The no is on the table as well. The free will to say, no, I'm not going to do this. I mean, that's where faith comes in. And I said it in the sermon. Fear is not the enemy of faith. No. Certainty is. And Mary being completely human, the no is on the table. She could tell Gabriel, no, man, I can't go through with this. And it's in her yes that then the possibility of her becoming blessed among all women, as the text says, you will become blessed among all women because you gave birth to the most important person in the history of persons, Jesus of Nazareth. And so that's the point I was trying to make, is that Mary's no more important in the history of things than you or I, but it's her yes to that request that elevates her. And so it's always our yeses, man. It's funny, like Jonathan, my good friend Jonathan Cubley was at my house last night. And, you know, we're always just kind of building each other up to be better dads, man, better husbands, you know. And his daughter woke up early, and he had sometime previously said, yeah, we'll wake up early one day and go watch the sunrise, because it's easy to watch a sunset on this coast. Yeah. But sunrises are freaking spectacular as well, dude. Oh, yeah. They are boss here. And again, we don't get the water view of it rising above, but man, the colors. And he goes, you know, Raylan came in at 6 o'clock yesterday morning, and he goes, she's poking me, Daddy, can we go catch that sunrise at the celery fields like you promised? And he goes, today? Right now? And he goes, but I said yes. And he goes, and dude, and I said, dude, you said yes to God. You said yes, obviously, to the God that exists within your own child. You know, that spirit of God that's there. And I said, and look what happened. He was showing me the pictures. It was freaking amazing. He had the best time with his daughters. So the yes to God are not always these monumental, historical
theophanies that,
these historical moments of like earth-shaking qualifications. Sometimes they're saying yes to your child, and that in itself is saying yes to God. Man, I don't want to like beat a dead horse, but that's a yes, and to God.
Somebody in the group yesterday said, and the person that we have the toughest time saying yes to in terms of dreams and possibilities is ourselves. Mm-hmm. And when you give a yes to yourself and your vision, right, that's also saying yes to God.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful stuff.
That is, man.
Did anybody else? When you said, I wonder how many young women Gabriel approached with this offer.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, I have wondered that.
Yeah.
But I asked the group, they all said, no, I never thought about that until he brought it up. But I thought, did anybody walk up to you and go, yeah, man, I asked that question?
No. So my wife was one who was like, I thought that was a brilliant point.
Yeah.
Like, no one really, in conversations in Grand Hall, no one really brought that piece up. But my wife was like, I've never thought of it.
Yeah.
And I said, because, you have to at least assume, even though it's an estimation, that there probably were, because again, it's the distinction between ability and availability. Like a woman has the ability to carry a child, and that's what God needed in terms of just pure ability. Someone who can birth a child. Well, it's going to be a woman. But the availability, like this is going to, like, think about the life of Jesus, dude. This is where, I was talking with Esther about it. She has never watched The Passion of the Christ. And there's a moment where Mel Gibson takes some creative license in the life of Jesus. And he's on the cross, and his mom, so strong, like Mary's, like, for this?
Yeah.
You're hanging on a cross naked in front of all these people, being crucified for a crime that
you didn't commit.
And in the movie, in Passion of the Christ, I thought it was such a beautiful license and possibility that she flashes back to when Jesus is a little boy and he's running. He's just doing little boy things. 'Cause, like, it's not like Jesus was like 3 going, "Thus saith the Lord."
Yeah.
No, he was a kid. He did kid things.
Remember when I made the universe?
Yeah. He's running and he trips and he falls, kind of like Riley on the bike. And Mary drops everything she's carrying and just runs to him. And you have to ponder, like, I wonder if part of the vision, seeing beyond the current condition, included that, like, this boy you're going to love with all of your heart because he's your son. But he's going to be brutally murdered for a cause that transcends anything that we as humans esteem as necessary or important. Like, he didn't die for democracy. Come on, dude. He didn't die for pushing our foreign policy in, like, dude, we send soldiers to places to die for things far less valuable with no guarantees than that of the collective human spirit and soul. So you have to wonder if that was part of the vision that Gabriel gives. And when she says, "No, I can see it." Yes, let it happen through me. And
it was something that Simeon saw.
Yeah, absolutely.
This will be a sword that pierces your heart, or your soul. Yeah.
And you think maybe she was a one and done, like nailed it on the first try. Yeah, we found our woman. Let's go. Or maybe I think it's possible because of human freedom and volition that maybe other women saw it and went, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't think I could have as a father, even just as a father, like, no, I can't let my kid go through that.
And so maybe the Catholics are onto something in the, at least in the way that Rohr explains it, right? That Mary becomes archetypal.
Oh yeah.
The archetype of our eternal yes.
That's right.
To God. I think she's the only character that experienced a theophany or an appearance of the Lord's angel or whatever, and doesn't resist it.
Yeah.
She questions, like, how is this possible? But she doesn't resist it.
That's right.
And she just says yes.
She goes with it. And again, it says she's visibly shaken. Who wouldn't be, And then she ponders the type of request that this is. Like, okay, you're going to have to show me a little more. And these are the things that are going to happen. And she knows prophecy. Like Mary, is a Jewish girl, probably knows the prophecy. He's going to rule over the house of David, be in Jacob's people. And she's like, but there's also some prophecy there that he's going to go through these things.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful story, but it all lends itself to, again, in my mind, as I was thinking through, praying through, reading through, researching, that's what the power of possibility is. Yes to God. Now, I had one of the good, interesting conversations I had in the Grand Hall was one person came up to me and said, so should I be like Jim Carrey in Yes Man? Just say yes to everything? I went, no, not necessarily. Sometimes it's appropriate to say no to certain requests.
That's why Suncoast In Depth afterwards is a good thing to do.
That's right. That's right.
We talk about these things. Shameless plug.
Yeah, that's it, man. And so that was one I said, no, I don't think it's appropriate to always say yes. Otherwise, you end up in this vicious cycle of people pleasing as opposed to God pleasing, And so, but that was probably one of the, a tough question at the end is, no, I don't say yes to everything.
Yeah, one of the questions that came up was, well, how do I even know when it's God that I'm saying yes to?
Yeah.
And I left it to the group, right, to answer that question. And I usually try to do that, and then I'll just fill in, if there's anything that I think, should be added. And they all collectively told stories, different stories about their yes to God that they realized was a yes to God after the fact, looking back.
Yep.
But what I added was, you notice that all of your stories had one thing in common. You didn't really know if you were saying yes to God or to your own desires and so on. But you'd have never known that it was a yes to God unless you did say yes without knowing.
That's it.
And that's part of being a person of faith, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it was great stuff, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, kudos.
Appreciate it.